Hi, sir.
Hello, Romit. How are we going?
All good, sir. TikTok. All
I'm
good. How
I'm
you been?
getting rather good at this now, and I got on the first shot.
You've
I
become a
was
pro
told
in
very
this.
clearly. No, I was
Ah,
told clearly the last time they said that listen, all they could see were my nostrils going into my brain. And a friend of mine added, he said, when they saw the
ah.
left part of my brain, they said there was nothing right, and when they looked to the right side of the brain, there was nothing left. So I hope this new position is okay. Is this
A little bit lower. You can get the thing a little lower.
lower? Oh
Lower.
God.
That's better.
Okay. Is
Perfect.
this better? Okay, okay. I'm getting there, my
Maybe
friend. I'm
about a
getting
couple
there.
of inches more lower.
Lower.
Yes,
How the hell do I do
that's
this,
good.
man?
Lower.
Or should I be sitting back more? Is that maybe what's gonna help? I don't know. One sec. Let me think.
No, it's good. Yeah.
Is it okay? Or no good?
Yeah,
I
it's
should be up
okay.
here.
Yeah,
Should I
yeah.
put a
Should be up
cushion?
there actually. Yeah. Yeah.
One
Perfect.
second. I'm gonna put a
Ideal.
couple. I'll put a couple of cushions under my butt. That might help.
Done. Done.
How's that?
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. It's all happening. This
There you go. This
better?
is perfect. Yeah. Much better. Much better. Super. Super.
Nostrils and brain can't be seen anymore,
No
right?
nostril. No, 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 no more. No more.
What?
You can't see the brains anymore.
What criticism? There was no brain. That's what I was told. That was so disappointing. Anyway, listen, I'm back for the second time, so we better not bore everybody, buddy, because you've been having such heavy
Done,
duty,
sir.
serious call conversations. I better just keep it light. I was on a very interesting no, but Romit, I was on a very interesting webinar day before yesterday, which was arranged by this
Right.
Sameer Sani's Up Game. And, it was so impressive to hear this guy talk because, our kids,
Mm,
whatever it is, you're giving them an opportunity to pick up so much, including the parents. So, while
right.
people hope some of this will actually, sink in because, like, whether it was Diggy a little earlier or whoever you've had on your little talks, I think there's so much that can be gained out of this whole thing, apart from all the fun stuff. So, since everybody just wants to hear stories, I
Right. In
thought we
fact,
will
I
tell them
called
some
Sameer
stories.
last week. Yeah.
Right, he was terrific. I mean, I
Yeah.
love
I
what he's
called
up
Sameer
to, and I
last
hope
week. He
Up
said,
Game is.
let me do this on Friday. Yeah. He'll be there tomorrow. He's on
Oh,
tomorrow
okay.
evening at 5 o'clock, and then we have Gurbaz after that. Then we have Aditi day after. Aditi show.
Oh, of
So we have a
course.
lot of good girls coming up. Yeah.
Well, I was told that, you've called me back because you had run out of guests. So I'm hoping that's not the only reason.
No, that's not the reason at all. You're backed by popular demand.
Okay, okay. So anyway, I was
Right.
just going to say that would people be interested in hearing about the Indian Open and all the rest of it?
I lost you there, Brendan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
hearing
People
you.
will love
I can hear
stories. Yeah,
you,
now I
buddy.
can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
I
We
was
can
just
hear you
going to
now.
tell
Yeah.
people that, now that we're talking about 1.7 million euros as the, prize money which Pavanji and Hero put up, I saw the Indian Open and it was $25,000 and it reached 50,000. But the funny part was, when you keep hearing about flea markets and pop-up stores, the Indian
Right,
Open
right.
used to have the largest flea market of all time because all the pros, especially the Americans, would want to sell
Oh yeah.
everything to us Indian golfers apart from their underpants.
Right.
They would sell their shoes, their range balls, the playing balls, the gloves, and the t-shirts used to be those fake Lacoste and those sort of brands that used to be brought from Thailand and
Right.
whatever.
You're
So when I
right.
tell people, I said, I'm bored with flea markets. I've been seeing them since 1972. So we used to have a
Wow.
good laugh at those days when, and the best part was, Romit, everybody stayed with members. There was no official hotel, courtesy cars, and all this that now the players have got used to. And, the equipment being distributed and people getting Oakleys like you and I now wear very proudly. I can see you've got another pair of Oakleys on your head, but I'm just saying in those days, the guys would show up.
I wish I got some. Uh,
Well, I'm sure we managed, but I'm just going to say that in those good old days, I remember Delhi, for instance, Elizabeth and Ronnie Durant would make sure that, people volunteered and then the players would go stay with them. And, it was just so seamless and beautiful in those good old days. And, while everybody's talked about, I know we've had Graham March come up in conversation and Brian Jones and people like that. What was interesting was apart from Payne Stewart, and we lost him, but I remember Scott Strange came, Jeff Sluman came, Bob Tway. As a matter of fact, I played, I think it was the 85 Indian Open in Delhi with Bob Tway, and these guys all won majors. So when you
Wow.
look at our whole story, India's got a lot that it's done to make this as large as it is. And we, of course, used to be just dependent on poor PK Bhattacharya sitting in Tata Center. And we'd, roll up into the Tata Center building and go up and see him. And, he was managing all this, whether it was amateur golf and the pro golf. And he used to be backed, of course, by people like Prakash Bhandari. Prakash, those days, used to be like the Secretary General getting in the golf clubs. And we used to get those rations of golf balls. That's another thing I used to tell people. I've been used to rations from the 80s when we used to get a ball a week, a brand new ball a week. So don't talk to me about rations. I'm used to that from the good old days. So anyway, I don't want to digress.
Right.
Tell me where we want to go. I think we've got a few people on board by now. So tell me, where do we want to start?
Well, let's start right at
Rohit,
the top, when you mentioned, yeah, it's a little it's breaking up a bit, Brandon. The visual is gone. You got stuck somewhere, so I think maybe the signal where you're sitting. No, I can't hear you, Brandon. You're stuck somewhere. No video, no audio. Maybe you need to get a little bit closer to maybe just the Wi-Fi router. Hello? Wi-Fi? Are you on Wi-Fi?
Is this better?
Yeah, this is better. This is better.
So I've gone to 4G
Yeah, this is better.
now.
What happened? What do you do?
4G.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah,
I
fair
don't know.
enough. 4G is good. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good.
So,
This is good. This is absolutely fine.
alrighty. So Romit asked Brandon to go live, then add you. I think we've gone live. Romit, Sujit, put up your hand if you can see me now, my friend. Doc?
Yeah, he can. He can.
He can? Okay. So,
Yeah,
okay,
he
let me
can.
just
He
quickly
can.
roll it back because, a lot of the young players may not remember this, but we were young too. And we all used to look for a female company as young players. I know you were teasing Digraj and Digraj was going hysterical, but I'll tell you a nice story. We used to go to Sri Lanka every year, and typical of what would happen, you would also stay in Sri Lanka with a family. So when the team was going and, the captain said that, you all will all double up, only the captain has prerogative of staying on his own. We never argued. We thought that must be normal. And we suddenly realized when we hit Colombo, and 72 it became Sri Lanka. So this was 8 years after it became Sri Lanka. We were told that he was going to go and stay with this couple who had a couple of lovely daughters. So we were, of course, jealous, and we were thinking, wow, I hope we will one day be like this and be the captain and have these luxuries. But anyway, cut a long story short, I have a feeling our captain had ignored this girl the whole year, because quicker than he went into the house, his luggage and his golf set came back out at us, and he ended up triple sharing with a couple of the guys because he wasn't welcome anymore. So I thought I should tell this story for all the boys who are, currently in new relationships. Remember, treat your better halves, or shall we say, now we call them, of course, we don't ever say wives anymore. We always say your partners. Well, because you never know, that may come back and otherwise bite you on the backside one day. So Sri Lanka for me was that memory, because I've had fun captains. I had Ashok Malik, who was from he's the legendary family, the first family of golf, the Maliks. I had Vikramjit Singh, I had Brigadier RB Chopra, I had Jingo Jamshedji, I had Prakash Bhandari, and then I had the very funny, great Guli Juneja as my captain in some of these trips that we took before they started trusting us to become the captain come player. So I have a few of those stories as well, which I thought I should share at some stage. But
Absolutely.
let's just go. So
Absolutely.
amateur golf went like that. And then, like I told you briefly last time, I think 83, when we got invited back into the World Cup and into that World Cup zone, was a big turning point. And, we were lucky we had Ashok Malik as our team captain, because he had lived in Singapore. He knew Bukit, which was the course we were going to play at Singapore Island Country Club. And it was amazing. I mean, we got there and we were at the Mandarin Hotel, where we were given this paper key, which Rohtas thought would never open a door, but it did. And Rohtas's point to me was only one thing. He said, whatever else we do, Indian khana raat ko. So this restaurant still exists in Kapich Terrace. It's called the Orchard Maharaja. But for 7 nights we ate there. And Rohtas used to overeat so much, because he was not eating much in the day, that before that final round, where we were, I won't say really sure about qualifying, but looked good, he had this really upset stomach. And then
Oh
Mr.
no.
Malik got him a lovely tablet, which was quite the size of about a 50 paisa bit, which Rohtas tried to swallow, and he was then choking on it. And we're being called to tee number one, and the two Indian players are in the loo at Singapore Island Country Club trying to just get onto the golf course. So
Right.
that was the start of that final day. And again, I have to tell you, it was the last few holes which killed us. And I remember
Uh,
on 18, which is a par five, I had come up just short. Rohtas was 3 on the green, par five, and it looked like if we could both just get it up and down, we would get at least into a playoff. But it was amazing. I chipped it in for an eagle. Rohtas hold it for a birdie, and next thing you know, India's won the Asia Pacific qualifier. This is ahead of New Zealand
wow.
and things. Yeah, so
Wow.
that was
Fantastic.
83, my friend. Yeah. So when we talk about 91 and 93 and Ali Sheikh, I
Right.
think the whole story started back, even in 83. And
Right.
of course, we started then not just making up the numbers. So it was fun times, Romit, fun times. And
Right.
we had a blast as far as that was concerned. So that was 83. 84, we had to go to Fiji. Guli Janeja was our captain, fun-loving guy. I think he had already made sure that he was going to retire and own a golf course, which he does now. He bought into and had this beautiful golden greens. But we flew from Nandi to the island of Suva to Pacific Harbor, which was a Trent Jones golf course.
Right.
And Rohtas was already quite fearful of flights. We've already flown about 15 hours. And he said, Brandon, कौन से flight पे जा रहे हैं? So I told him, I said, it's Sunshine Airlines. So
Right.
he said, उसका क्या मतलब? I said, वो धूप वाली airline है. So he said, अच्छा, Sunshine, that sounds good. And cut a long story short, we got caught in a storm. Where that little plane bounced around, we have no idea, but we somehow landed eventually. We drove back. We were so scared, by the way, when the event finished. But before that, I'll never forget telling him, he said, अगली बार इसको airline को नाम change करना चाहिए. So for me, Sunshine got us into Fiji. And this is where it gets really exciting. We go into this event. Now, both Australia and New Zealand are there. We have no chance. We're just making up the numbers, but we go berserk on the second day, and we're now sitting assured of finishing second and going to Rome for the World Cup final. And
Right.
Guli Janeja tells us, he says, boys, you have earned it, have a beer. So I was not much of a
Wow.
drinker in those days. Rohtas, of course, was quite good at it. So we had a couple of beers, and suddenly we are
Huh.
told that, hey, y'all are in a playoff. New Zealand has bogeyed the last. They're not going to win. You guys have to go into a playoff.
Right.
So we then cruised back onto the golf course, a little high after a few beers. I, of course, hit a terrible tee shot in the bush. Roti's fortunately in the fairway. I have to chip out, knock it about 40 feet. Rohtas hits it about 30 feet, and we're not looking very good because both these guys are much better than us. Anyway, similar to I think God was really shining on us. I keep telling people, I joke about it, that God's Catholic, but I hold it, Rohtas holds it, both these guys miss, and for the second time in 2 years, India wins the Asia Pacific qualifier.
Wow.
So this is
Well
all in the
done.
history books.
Well
So I thought
done.
I must tell this story because we owe it to Guli for it. Of course, he had a fabulous celebration done by the High Commissioner. And what I love about India is when we do well, we're the toast of everybody. When we're doing badly, bloody hell, you better not even show your face. So, but they were good memories of 83 and 84, which I thought I
Wow.
must put together. Yeah. So anyway, like I said, you get on tour, you have to embrace what happens, get on well with people, and they'll be your friends for life. Like what happened for me with Tom Kite and Lanny Watkins. The year before, we had John Cook and Rex Caldwell. We played with them. But what I loved about Tom Kite was he couldn't believe that I ate beef. And he said, India, and you eat beef? So I said, yeah, I've given up tiger and elephant for a while, so I'm now on to beef. And he said, we're going to go and eat burgers tonight. Okay, but forget that. But of course, Rohtas wouldn't touch it because Rohtas was good. So I don't remember what he ate, but it wasn't much. I enjoyed the beef burger. And at the end of it all, he presented me this putter, which I still have, Romit. It's the bullseye, a Acushnet bullseye.
You
And that
played
was
with them a
my
lot,
really,
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it just
With
happened
that
from
grip, with a grip on it, which you turned around and around, wrapped around. I remember you with that.
so but I'm just saying this is where it all happened from, So
Uh,
it was funny. And then I remember going with Prakash Bhandari in Singapore. I don't know where we'd gone to an event, and Prakash said, I'm going to set you up. And he took us to Prem Sasdev's shop, which used to be on High Street. Prem, who
right.
you all know, you know him now as
Yeah,
Gokarna,
yeah.
but in those days he was there. And when he took us there, I thought, my God, we're going to something which looks like a smuggling joint. Everything looks like it's all fake and smuggled and whatever. There's a golf shop. And that's where I got my, first set times I was fitted with golf clubs back in 84 or 85.
Wow.
So, I mean, like I said, I can tell stories like this forever, but I don't know how many people on this would want to listen to it. But they were fun days, fun days. So anyway, you want to jump ahead into anything else? Because I have fun stuff to talk to you about, Dhaka, what happened when I first went there, the top people we met in our lives. Can I share some of that stuff with you?
Absolutely. Please go on. Please go on.
Okay, so Jaipur was the first time we had a brush with royalty. Okay?
Right.
The beautiful Rajmata Gayatri Devi would come and follow us, and she would bring her car. There was no golf cart. She would come in a Merc in those days, the old Merc, and she would follow Phil Pilling, Rohtas, and me, and we used to think, wow, we are blessed. And we used to play on browns and sand, so the fairways were not bothered. Anyway, and then Bubbles, the royal, his Highness invited us to dinner with his wife, and I remember telling Phil, I said, Phil, please be on your best behavior today. You cannot afford to drop any bricks. We're with royalty. Rajmata must have been the reason why we're doing this. Now behave yourself. And Phil promised, and Rohtas promised. I said, very few, I know you guys love a drink, but control it. Anyway, we sit at this fabulous banquet, finish it, but it was so hot. Everything was so chilly hot. Lal Mas is the first time I ate it was back then. And, we knew our bums are going to burn the next day, but we were being extremely polite. But by the time we were walking out in single file saying bye to our hosts, I think Phil had enough, And he walked up to her, and he never remembered a name. If you remember Phil called all men Baba and all the ladies Sunshine, because he had no clue what their names were after meeting them, even an hour before. And he tells Bubbles' wife, I'll never forget this, Sunshine, were you trying to effing kill us? Okay? And I'm thinking, we've just finished their hospitality, and our friend is telling stories like this. So this was our brush with royalty. And then I want to just fast forward it. We get into Pakistan, and there's a power event. Bata Pa invites us, and we said we must go to Pakistan. And so it's Ranjit Nanda and David as the amateurs, Basid Ali and me as the pros, and we have to take a non-playing captain, which was a guy called Pratap Chaudhary. Pratap was a tea guy, deputy secretary of the Tollygunge Club, and his pet name used to be Gunda. Okay, that was his pet name. Like he used to be quite a Gunda. You remember him, right? Kalkara. So anyway, we go there, and it's made very obvious to us that on the last day, the ties and pins that we had been told by the IJU should work was not going to be enough. We have to buy a gift for the President Ziaul Haq.
Right.
So after much thinking, the brainstorm, which was Ranjit was the senior who was telling us what we should do, told Gunda Chaudhary that, you need to go into the market. We rustled up some money, go buy something, but don't buy anything in onyx, because onyx in Pakistan is very beautiful and very cheap.
Right.
So Pratap said, listen, have some faith here. You know me. I'll go pick up something fabulous. They're going to love it when we hand it over. So anyway, the event finished. I remember I got beat on the last hole, but Ranjit won the amateur. And then time came for this giving away of all these gifts. So our friend's gift was given, and the president thought it would be a nice gesture that he should open this gift on the stage. And I don't know, but all four of us were having a bad feeling. Basid was not too bothered, but David, Ranjit, and I were dying. And guess what? He gifted the president of America an onyx Buddha.
Oh my God.
In Pakistan. we got back from Pakistan, so we're okay, So,
oh my God.
These are real stories. So, I thought I should tell you. And, we miss Phil. I think, Phil is no more, I believe, because we tried to track him for a few years after. But back about 98, I was told he had passed on. So that was really, really sad. But anyway, just moving to Dhaka, golf lessons, since there are a lot of people I'm sure would love to hear about golf lessons. But Ershad was mad about golf. Ershad.
Yeah,
crazy.
He was.
I mean, he may have been the Idi Amin from Uganda or Bangladesh, but he was a big boy on the golf course. So I had the pleasure of giving him a lesson. And I remember in just general telling him that, you really need to stick your butt out and bend your knees. Otherwise, you're not going to make as good contact and whatever. And he started hitting it quite well. So I repeated it. I said, Your Excellency, did you ever think sticking your ass out and bending your knees would make such a difference? And he just collapsed laughing for a couple of minutes. And I said, sir, now what is so funny about that? He said, do you realize that there's nobody in this country who can talk to me like this? So my brush with some of these people was quite amazing. And I'll never forget my wife, Nandita, those days used to be fairly, silent and didn't really want to converse much. But I remember telling her, I said, Nanda, you got to make an effort. Yeah? you got to start chatting with these people. I know they're generals and, a lot of bureaucrats, but make an
Right.
effort. So she saw the lesson happen and soaked it in by saying hi to Ershad. And the next day we got there and there's no Ershad because he didn't come every day, but he had come for a lesson the previous day. So I remember her asking this very august gathering that, so where is the president today? And one of them said he's gone to open a bridge in Chittagong. And my
Right.
wife's contribution, I can never forget it. Now that turns around and says, that's the life I want to have one day. Golf one day, bridge the next. So he said, we got to open the bloody bridge. So
What, Nandita?
so but these are true. I mean, she wanted to carry for me, right? And if you
Yeah.
ever want a reality check after 32 years, I'll share it and you would. And how many years you been married, Romit?
Quite a lot.
I put you on the spot.
17,
Oh,
17 years.
You got lucky you'll be in the guest room otherwise. Anyway, so now they wanted to carry for me, and that was the reality check because after about 6 holes, she told me, she said, I'm not getting it. You're never hitting the ball where you should. You keep expecting me to bring the cart to where your ball is. Why can't you just help yourself to 4 clubs and manage? So, as you would guess, that's the last time she carried, but that was the Asian tour. But we've had some fun times. So,
Great stuff.
anyway,
Great stuff, Brandon. Wow.
the stories,
Wow.
stories that I thought you all should hear.
Keep going.
So, anyway, no, I was going to say, I mean, if you look at the way this tour came up, I thought we should spend a little time on it because I've been seeing a whole bunch
Absolutely.
of Twitter stuff about Mukesh and, 20 wins and whatever. Mukesh and Rohtas, not only were they fantastic, but they both won over 100 times. And, Swami and I exchanged some stuff on this today. But let me tell you, when we went to Nepal the first time, it wasn't order of merit. There was no clubhouse at Royal Nepal Golf Club. And the Royal stood for their local Royal, not that it's part of the Royal clubs.
Right.
And I'll never forget, Ray Narona was the MD of Surya Tobacco, who was like the biggest tax-paying company of that country. And Ray said, Brandon, we have to find a solution. So we go to Royal Nepal, and what is like the 8th hole, he said, listen, can we pitch some tents and set up like a hospitality and a registration and make this, this other hole, the first hole, the 9th hole? And I said, sure, why not? And we actually, for the players who came, and I know Gaurav Ghai will remember it, and Rohtas, of course, will remember it, and Ali Sher will remember it. But we actually started. If you wanted to go to the toilet there, you had to go to the main airport, which was behind us, to go to the
True.
loo, because there's no loo. We couldn't build any Portaloos in those days.
Run across the
So-
car park and go.
Exactly. Did you ever come up there that time?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think you were
I've
too
been
young.
there, yeah. So
So
I
it
played
was
Royal Nepal,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, but Ray Narona was he just made up his mind and that was it. And that's what I tell people that, I know Diggy talked about it today and he was talking about all the people he thanked. But Romit, it took a lot to get these guys first to believe in you. And when you had guys like Ray Narona back you, of course, IDC was doing its bit in India at that time. It happened and it just became a reality. And now, Gokarna is one of the top courses and, they've been doing an event. Recently, again, that fell off. And I hope it'll resurrect because we need these things to happen. So for me, and then of course the patron used to be, the Crown Prince, Dipinder, and I till date will never believe he shot himself after shooting his parents, the king at that time, because he was a wonderful guy. And we would sit at this evening, which used to be always at the Salty, and it was very formal. And I remember Suchitra Pillai came one year with us as my co-host. One year we had somebody else. So there was always these very fancily done dinners. And Dipinder would come and it was all this shaking hands and orange juice and he would be wearing his national dress. And then we'd go into a little small room, the ante room. And that's when the booze would be flowing. Next thing I know, his cap's off, his thing is open. And he was a great guy, and then I'm told, so I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get myself into, but these are real stories, right? And then that's what happened. So yeah, it was interesting, but it was a journey because, we had to make something of it. And I think, like I mentioned in the last time I was on your show, that the Army made that difference. Companies like IDC did it. But of course, now in recent times, you've got a lot of new players. And it's great when somebody like Pavan Ujjal talks about it. But it's nice when people go back and remember what Dilip has done or what Arvind Khanna did. And, all of that is important because I don't think you can take anything of that away, And I remember when it became from 50,000 to a lakh to 2 lakhs to a one-off 5 lacquer. And then in 95, we brought the Gadgil Western, $500,000. And it was just like magic when it was on the 18th hole, Vijay Kumar 2 on the 18th on the par 5 Delhi Golf Club on the green, looking like he's going to wrap it up. Gaurav Ghai right at the green with a chip to try and see if he can get into a playoff. He chips in for eagle, he wins. I mean, these are fairy tales, boss. These are fairy tales, which nobody can write a script like that. So the
Right.
Gadgil was something that was quite amazing. And then, we went up and I remember the Hero Honda then became a regular stop. There was the Hero Honda Masters. The Indian Open carried on till 2000. I mean, I remember when Feroz won, when Arjun Atwal won. These are big, big things that happened in Indian golf. And today, when I saw this Twitter note talking about it, I was just saying that if the PGA of India is forgotten, you mean Jyoti, well, Jyoti did win even after that, but Jeev and Arjun never won because they were not part of this. They were part of the PGA tour. And they did a lot of stuff. Like I have one picture of these three at the McLeod Russell, and I say, who walked us into the next zone was them and Alishe, 91 and 93, that Indian Open. That was more than fairy tale. So Feroz won an Indian Open, as you know, and as late as Muniappa winning. I think people forgot, when Jyoti won three of them, people started thinking, oh, it's now taken for granted an Indian should win. But my God, yeah, they crossed a chasm, Rohit. They crossed a
Right.
chasm. So anyway, offbeat stories. You've been involved with the PGI, so give us some of your thoughts.
No, it's been a great journey there as well. PGI, it's not only the PGI before the PGTI, even before the PGI, I think the IGU ran a lot of events for pro golf.
Correct.
And, since I've seen records from 1983, which are phenomenal. You guys had 20 tournaments at that time, 25 tournaments, in fact.
Absolutely.
You had Kanpur, you had Amritsar, you had various golf courses.
No,
And,
Jalandhar. I mean, my friends.
Yeah, Jalandhar, yeah, that's right.
We used to always tease young Mr. Puri and his hotel, but I mean, these were the greatest
Suman.
guys. I mean, Soman. I mean, he had the accent, right? So we never called him Soman. We always called him Mr.
Sure,
Puri. Mr. Puri, yeah. So that story about they going to the Punjab and picking up an American accent is easy, buddy. But no, but I'm just saying the tour.
Oh, ki kare hai yaar.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. I wanted you to say it because I'm sure it'll get back there. But we loved him. We loved him. So, I mean, Ambala to Amritsar to whatever. It was just fantastic. I mean, we went to all of those courses and, we'd be in Bombay for 5 weeks. We'd go south for 5 weeks. And I just think this can be all, resurrected, done right. Honestly can be resurrected.
Right.
And I really hope it's going to be. So anyway.
I think B Towns is a great place to start again with pro golf or smaller events, maybe even a 72-man field, smaller.
It won't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Events,
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
And you can have they'd have to work it out. And if it means having a few, qualifiers, which are like, Monday qualifiers to just fit in some field because the guys aren't already ready, for it, so be it. But I don't think not and ignoring them is the answer and saying we need to do 30 and 40 lacquers because it's not going to just drop out of the heavens. It's not manna coming in and in the middle of the desert. But they've got to get out there and understand it, and make a difference because 400 kids need to make a living. Everybody can't just teach golf. Let's be quite clear. They need to play the youngsters. And I say this on the ladies' tour as well. I want the WGI to have pro-ams. I want the WGI to have skills contests. I want them to do stuff differently, but make it available. I see Shiv is putting out a question, my buddy from Kolkata, Shiv Mohan. And the truth is, when you don't have TRPs like what cricket generates and other things, golf will always be second fiddle here. But done right, there are people watching it. People are prepared to put money into it. And you just have to do it right. Otherwise, it's not going to get to the next level, in my mind. We've got to make it interactive. You don't want the tour to literally come in the middle of the night into a city, play 4 days, and then disappear out at it without anybody knowing, and you're getting a few paragraphs in a newspaper. You want the membership of the club to get involved. You want to get people from outside involved. You've got to get the press, and the press is ready to do things. Let me tell you. I'll tell you today, and I just saw Chetan log on, and when we brought that EMAR European tour, women's tour into India, and then the men's tour, the kind of support we got at Eagleton, I remember Chetan saying, he said, "Man, don't worry, we'll add the rooms, we'll make a suite, we'll do this, we'll do that." But the fact was, Laura Davies down was in Bangalore to play a tournament, and we got crowds, right? Today, the Indian Open gets crowds, but, we need to get many more. We need to have more people coming to watch it and not worrying about, will Delhi Golf Club pay my green fee, so can I go play Classic? If the event's happening at DLF, we should, as golfers, want to be at DLF watching it, and the same for the women's tour, and it's good to do. So I'm just saying that it's not that India hasn't seen it. It's a question of doing more to make it a value proposition and then get it back because you need to tell good stories. I don't know whether Joy and Swami are logged on, but I used to always tell this to Joy. I said, Joy, make the articles more fun. don't make your articles who hit a 7-iron and hit it 6 feet and made the putt. People want to hear fun stories, Which
Right.
squirrel jumped out when somebody was, going to the loo and, bit him somewhere, or do silly things, but write stories of lifestyle. Talk about stuff which is different. And, that's why when I think commentary happens, the commentators, when you hear them, and that's something I'm dying to do actually, is to commentate on maybe the Asian Tour. And, maybe I need to reach out to Dominic and see whether I could get access to it. But I would love to get behind the scenes because I think that's what the viewer wants to hear. The straight stuff, which is already visual, they know what's going on. Fairway,
right.
green, bunker, whatever, scramble. But
Right.
the
The
truth
story
is,
behind, yeah, that's right.
that's the key. What did the guy did in the morning? What did the guys eat for breakfast? What actually happens on the driving range? What actually happens in the evening? What happens after you shoot 66? Or worse, if you shot 75, what do you do to come back different the next day? Or if you shot 66, not be different? So I'm just saying that there's so much more that is left, and that's why I get excited when things like Upgame come on board, and start telling you stuff, because I want our kids to realize it's not just banging the ball for hours on the driving range. It's a lot more. You've got to get under the skin of it and understand that what am I doing that is not keeping me under par? Because if you're shooting 4 red numbers every time, Romit, you're in contention. I don't care where you are. And if you're not even in
Right.
contention, you're on the top 10, man. You're not out of it. You're
Absolutely.
not blowing out, So
Right.
just this, that of it is the key. But like I said, I mean, who would have imagined that we would have an event like the EMAR MGF Indian Masters, which Chaurasia won?
Wow.
We had Marco Mera, we had Ernie Els,
Ernie
the
Els, yeah.
Oberoi built us a bridge from their car park into
Yeah,
the
that's
golf
right.
course. So players, you remember that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely, yeah.
we took over every suite of that hotel. It was like, the oil boys were coming into town, literally. And I'll
Yeah,
never forget this. Abhishek Bachchan came representing Omega. It
right.
must be the one and only time in his life when nobody even knew or wanted to talk to him. He went unnoticed. I don't know if
Yeah,
you remember
that's
this,
right.
Gary Golfer.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
of course,
I remember this, yeah.
Chow was he was the man. I mean, come on, he went out there and won, and he just killed everybody. So it was
Yeah,
huge. It was like what I feel when Feroz won at the Royal. It was amazing. When Arjun won, I mean, there was excitement for us. We felt we had won. It was such a big deal. So
right.
I just hope that'll happen, and I hope more of it will happen. That's the whole story. So anyway,
Ah,
that's where I was getting to. So, like I said, I mean, there were good experiences, there were good people, but the question is now, how do we harness it? And I wanted to ask you this very, very strongly. As a representation post this COVID thing, what is it we can do? Because, we've been trying to create paper about why golf courses should open, why golf is one of the safest games, etc., etc. Because people are going to go nuts if they kept, locked up anymore, so to say, So what are your thoughts on that, Romit? I wanted to just have a bit of a
well,
chat with you on it.
well, I believe, Brandon, what you put out there in the paper sounds very logical. And the
Right?
only thing is, I'm not really ready. I really don't know whether India is still ready for it because, people don't understand golf. People don't understand how it's played and how actually you want to phase this out, with minimum players and no touching the flag sticks and stuff like that. India is in a
Right.
state of panic, and at the district level, when you said that, the district level has to take a decision to open the golf clubs at the end of the day, that'll be a little bit of a challenge because I really don't think there are enough people out there who actually understand what's going on. Well, you know what, Digraj also had a discussion with this in the earlier
I heard a
session.
part of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and we were discussing the same thing, and I don't know whether they understand and they look at golf in a very different light, and they say, Rais fir se mang raha hai that you need to open their golf courses up, because they want to have fun here, people dying, and they want to play golf, those kind of areas or angles will start coming in. I understand what you're doing is completely educated, you're doing it in a very phased manner, very clean manner, and I know no one's going to get hurt in the process. But
Right,
how
right,
much
right.
Indian administration gets that, I'm not really sure. And that's a gray area that we're going to get into with that paper. And the paper's fantastic. I read it, and it's very detailed and very safe. And I think it's the best way that we can go forward. But my apprehension is only one that we need to convince the district level guys as to how to go about this. And if we can do that in one or two golf clubs to start with, yeah, like Anik is
It'll
saying,
work.
perception is the problem.
Perception. I agree. I think Anish made a very
Yeah,
good point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, what's
that's
interesting, Romit, is that I've been telling people that, this hygiene story, and I've been asked to, supposedly tell people so that I can spread the word. I've had it from a couple of the newspapers, a couple of channels saying that, would I come up and say the same stuff about stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, etc. I've actually added to my point saying that, listen, guys, just because you're home doesn't mean you stop showering, because I'm shocked at how many people are not having a bath every evening. So I said, guys, it hasn't changed, Just don't wash your hands. Don't forget the rest of your body. So no, that's being a little making a joke of it. But the truth is that, stay home, stay safe is good, but you need to do more, man. So I just hope people are listening, because that's going to be the next big challenge. We've got to get back into some kind of realism that we need things to open. We need people to go out somewhere to let off steam, and, people, of course, all the stakeholders and the people who are losing their livelihoods out of it. I mean, I know we're hurting, and I'm sure most of the people I know will be hurting as well, But the fact is, Romit, end of the day, it's going to have to be, again, a concerted effort. And that's one of the biggest things I keep saying. That I remember when we were trying to push the PJI, and, now the PGTI is trying to do it, and I know what's going through with the IGU. We as the Golf Industry Association, again, I'll be honest, my biggest focus has to be that whoever's our members, the stakeholders, need to see value. Otherwise, if they don't, they're not going to see value, they ain't going to do very much. So yes, we have people, like I've said this on the last time, but I'll say it again. We have the best design guys, the refurbishment guys. I don't want to be in a situation where somebody gets onto a committee of a club and starts thinking he's a drainage expert, he's an irrigation expert, he's a grass expert. I have this conversation with Ranjit, and Ranjit's unfortunately very soft-spoken. I will tell you a story of Ranjit in a minute, but what I'm saying is, like today when I tell Atit, I said, I'm happily today wearing an Under Armour shirt from him, but these guys have brought the best brands in. Toro's here, Rainbird is here, Ransoms is here, Club Card is here, Dipali's got Titleist, her husband's got it. We need to see business generated, guys, and if you're not going to generate business, we're not doing the right thing, So anyway, I would just remember a story with Ranjit, which I thought I must tell you all. In Sri Lanka, I was on my first trip, and I was going to room with him. I knew him from Calcutta, so it was helpful, but there was Gunnar Talwar and Bunny Lakshman and Vikramji, they're all the dons with us. And I'll never forget walking into Sumi and Nirmalingam's house, Nimo as we would call him, and naturally we were a little awkward. I was about 18 or 19, and Sumi tells Ranjit Nanda that, I want you to promise me that you will not stand on formality. And Ranjit looks down, he says, no, I prefer to stand on solid ground. And I'm thinking, am I hearing things, or is this supposed to be serious? And then we sit at the dining table and we're eating and struggling with this chicken. And then she turns around and tells Ranjit, listen, don't feel shy. Please use your hands. And he says, no, I prefer to use my mouth. So 30 years later, if you ask Ranjit, how are you playing? He's saying, with my clubs, it goes back to 1979, So when I think of the serious side of him and I see the funny side of it, there were weird times, But and the funny part is all those people were still in the, well, Nimo, we unfortunately lost, but, I went to Sri Lanka last year and I caught up with Sumi. Her daughter, Nisha, was on tour. The Fernandos, Thiru was on tour. So, I mean, you look at all of this. When I tell people golf's a family, golf has got so much to go for it, I always compare it with what I used to tell people about Bata as a brand. Bata used to, whenever there was a shop, if you had a problem and you were from Bata going into a Bata shop, you were fine, right? Golf is like that. If you're a golfer, I don't care where you are sitting alone, whether it be on a bar stool, whether it be somewhere else. If you play golf and there's another golfer in the room, you have a friend, my friend. And I just want people to, when they're hearing it, to appreciate it and not take this, lightly, because it's truly a huge community which we should contribute positively into rather than just taking it for granted, and
Absolutely.
I don't know, but anyway, it is something I thought I must bring back and talk about. So yeah, it was fun times.
Oh, that's absolutely right, Brandon. That's fantastically said. You put it right there. It's us together. We make the difference. I mean, we're golfers. We talk golf. We live golf. Everything's about golf. I call a friend today. We're only discussing golf. We're not discussing COVID-19. We're within this. What we're doing over here is we're discussing golf. There's so many guys tuning in every day, which I see, and they all want to be part of these conversations because they're all picking up. They want to be inside golf. It's fantastic. It's just brilliant.
Well, the other thing which, truthfully, there was a piece of, well, it was a presentation in those days, and again, Digraj and I were very involved with it. It was called Golf and I, Why, And I remember this was being planned because we thought we'd use it plentifully with various people, and we did talk about the therapeutic side of it and how it's good for your health. But one of the things that will never leave me was that you will meet more commercially important people in 2 hours at a golf course than you might meet in a month of doing anything else.
Absolutely.
Romit, I have had the luxury, the privilege, I would say, of being up in Gulmarg, being Dean Shah's horse, playing with him for a month as my partner, where we would play golf in the morning and then they would play backgammon and poker in the afternoon. I took people like Mani Thapar, the late Mani Thapar, wonderful man, Arun Bharatram, people like this. They were all became, I mean, I was much younger, but they treated me so nicely. It was just because of golf. And many years later, I remember Sunil Mittal, Airtel was my partner, regular partner on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know what he would tell the office, but he would come and play Tuesdays and Thursdays at DLF. And we would play with Ranjan Bhattacharya and Hardeep Singh and Shashi Ruya. When I think of all this, where in which lifetime could I have had access to these people if it hadn't been golf?
Absolutely.
And I tell Ishan this all the time because Ishan today has been, an incredible ambassador for what he's doing in Hyderabad. And I was telling him, I said, you feel sometimes it's a chore, but believe me, make the investment, son, because it's going to get you, it'll open doors which you can't imagine. And, like today, my daughter, Ria, she's sitting out in Kolkata trying to work at a hotel chain. And I just told her, I said, do you realize how lucky you are? You're in a city like Kolkata, which is so warm, so welcoming, that you know everybody. That, today, what you're doing, you can actually bring it, you're an asset to the hotel in the digital space. So I'm just saying that it's all walks of life. It's not that only one thing benefits. We can all benefit from it. So it's exciting, but it's like what I keep telling people, what do you want to make of it is the key, and how much are you doing on a regular basis? When I joke and tell people I send out 5,000, maybe 10,000 messages at Christmas and the New Year, they laugh, and I say, listen, guys, they should feel that you remembered them. Maybe they see it and delete it. It doesn't matter. I felt good that I sent them a message. Or if I wish somebody on a birthday, I always try and wish them one day before. Not because I want to get the wrong day, but I want to tell them, listen, I'm thinking of you. Because if I call you on the day with 100 other people wishing you, it may not have much meaning, And this is something which I remember in the good old days we did this. And I just feel that I feel strongly about all these kind of things. Because if you don't make time for people, people ain't going to make time for you, my friend. So
I've seen that, Brandon, about you. You've called me always on my birthday, or maybe a day before, and like, listen, just before you get busy, let me wish you happy birthday. I've seen that about you. Yeah, you do that every year. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's from the heart. Yeah,
I remember, buddy. I remember these things.
I see today this program must be going so badly. There are no questions. Is it today? Is that what's happened?
No, they're just listening. They're listening. So there are some questions. If you want to answer them, there have been some questions. One of them is just a thing that Farzan said. Farzan, your old friend, and he said my dad used to was the first secretary of that Royal Nepal Golf Club in 1968. Right. He was a lieutenant colonel, and he was there. So,
well, tell him that. Tell Fuzzy that if Dad left just a kind of an old apartment, or was actually a little bungalow, which was the clubhouse, and it had the best momos. So did his father have anything to do with that? Then I'm interested. But they were the best momos of all time at the Royal Nepal Golf Club. The only two things the Nepal golfer did was eat momos and drink beer. Golf was just, it also happened. Because it was.
I remember sitting behind that green right at the last hole. Everybody had San Miguel's in their hand. San Miguel was like going out of style.
Free publicity. Free publicity.
Okay, another fun days. Question coming up. Sir, according to you, who is one of the most underestimated Indian golfer?
Underestimated. Well, to be truthful, I've been saying this every year. For me, the two kids I feel could be doing and will do much better are Ajitesh Sandhu and Gagan Bhullar. They have won, but I think they could win and do a lot more. And a little bit biased, but I would love to see Rahil. I think Rahil has not lived up to the potential he has, and that may be because of the Kolkata connection. But Rahil also, for me, has been somebody I've seen grow up. Because I tell you, it's just they ooze talent. I think Baz will say this also, but when I see people like Gagan and Ajitesh, and I see how real and correct they look, I just wish they would be up there and not just be on European tours, but be literally competing in it. So there's a whole bunch of now young kids like Viraj Madappa, who's looking really good. Adil's looking really good. Cullen, Chikka. I mean, I'm enjoying seeing how they're trying to stay fit and stuff. But I think there should be more success, because there's nothing that sells like success in my mind. That's the whole bottom line.
Next thing we come into is Rishi Vadera. Do you think after COVID, do you see an opportunity for opening up pay and play corporate tournaments?
Well, I think that's going to be the only way, Rishi. I'll be honest, and I'm glad you asked it, because, that's truthfully have to be the method. No more free lunches. clients will always look to say that, listen, I don't mind putting in X, but the Y needs to come from some other source, and that pay and use is where it steps in. And it's just no big deal. I don't think anybody should mind it. But what it will do is it will separate the wheat from the chaff. Those who are really serious will be happy to put their money out there as long as they feel it's a nice deal, and then go out and play the event. So it's not that we have to charge an arm and a leg. Nobody wants to go crazy and rip anybody off. But yes, pay and use will be, I think it'll definitely go that way. So Rishi, brilliant thought.
Lots of events in America, Brandon, if you know, the pro-ams are pay-per-plate dinners. I mean, you need to pay for that dinner plate which you're playing the golf for.
Simple, and why not? And often it's linked to a charity, which is also we can add, and we need to do it. And I'm saying they should do this for all the tours, men's tours, women's tours, doesn't matter. I mean, I just I don't know, like I heard about how they wanted to bring, the men's tour into our course, but I think what they're doing in AGA is good, but do more with it. Do make the pro-am bigger, maybe do a 2-day thing at Boulders as well. Build into it and don't make it free. Let people pay for it. I mean, I remember the good old days. We used to have what we call the Kolkata auction during the Indian Open.
Right, I know.
The whole field would be made into fields, right? And you would have a block that you bought, the basket of those 8 names in your basket, and then you would split it up. And, we as the Indian pros would play for something called the Y.Y. Shea Trophy. Now, I'm not sure who Y.Y. Shea was, and I hope he's not alive anymore, because the top Indian, apart from the money he made, would get this EPNS trophy. I won it 3 times, which was the worst thing in the world. I mean, it was so bad that you almost didn't want to take it home. But on the flip side, the guy who won the auction and took, 40% of the pool could be taking back about 8 or 10 lakhs. So I used to think to myself, is this where we should be? So there was no match fixing, but it was amazing days, But the Kolkata auction.
Fun. Yeah, exactly. It was on the lawns of the Royal Calcutta Golf Club. Yeah, Nick Sandal, I remember.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Shiv Kapoor can take a bow. When he started at the Golf Premier League, if you remember that one year we did it.
Right, absolutely. Sahara, at Pearl.
Cabrera came. Yeah, some big boys came. Cabrera was there. Our British Open champion had come. The Englishman, the Irish guy was there. And I'll never forget, we did that auction at the Sahara Hotel in Mumbai. Yeah. No, Mumbai first.
Mumbai,
And, people paid to buy the players, and then, all the various syndicates went out and played. And this was quite an incredible event. It's just that I think sustaining stuff requires much larger numbers, which at the moment, I don't think we have access to. So we've got to be a little patient. But yeah, I think Doc's also putting pay and play could be the way forward. Doc, you are going to be paying a lot, and you will also play a lot. That's a promise. The best dentist ever. I told you this last time, guys. Anyway. Yeah, that's the truth.
Faisal Qureshi asks, is there any hope of PGAI and PGTI joining hands?
I don't think that's necessary, honestly, FQ, because the truth is, the PGAI was the body and PGTI became the body, meaning PGTI today is a player-driven professional organization. The PGAI was a lot more honorary, a lot more people getting together, and we drove it the best we could. So it's not that we're going to bring any great value, but yeah, I think when the PGAI took the lead and did a couple of senior events, when the PGAI has done stuff with the teachers, when the PGAI has done other stuff, it's been good. So they should definitely work together. And if it means calling it joining, that's no big deal. I don't think anybody else would have a problem. I certainly would always renew my membership of the PGAI. Are we out of time or anything, Romit? Are we okay?
No, we're not out of time. We're not out of time at all. Yeah, but a little something to add over there. Me and Uttam have sat across the table. Good. PGI and PGTI have sat across the table. Gautam's also been involved in this, and he's seen the new memorandum that we've offered them. We want to basically not be involved in teaching at all. I mean, in playing at all, and want to be definitely supporting teaching pros and their upgradations and their upkeep. So they get more knowledge and wisdom. So we've agreed to some things. Therefore, PGA and PGTI, if you see now, PGA members do play PGTI events. So things like that have changed. And Uttam's very much on the table with this. And we're going to go through, most probably by this year, we should be formalizing everything. And there will be there is a coexistence that we had already fixed up. And they've agreed, the top brass has agreed that it's fine. It's absolutely fine to go that way. Because at that time, 10 years, 15 years back, what was necessary had to happen. But now we need to look at the future and give something or leave something behind for everybody else to come and enjoy. So that's why we want to create systems and put back systems which are conducive to everybody out there. So we're doing that. So we will sign
Well,
something
you know,
and
Romit, I
have
just
an
think
agreement. Yeah.
also what I think, I don't know how many people know this, but when there's a prize money of, let's say, 100,000, only 16.66% used to go to the winner. I think it's now
Right. It's
16%.
yeah.
And your 50th guy might get 0.86%, right? That's pretty much
Right.
what is the normal route. What I tell people is, has anybody given a thought to when a player finishes, does he have anything to look forward to? Is there any kind of way that he's on some kind of a pension? Or when he's still playing, is anything on medical that has been thought of? And I think today, this is what, as PGI, PGTI, we should be actually looking at, you know, because you can get injured, you can take, 3 months off. It's nice if things like this get addressed as well. It's not just, saying, oh, so and so won at so many under. I think there's more
Right.
to it, and I think we need to think about it. Ateet's writing, what about my question? What, Ateet, did you ask, my friend? I'm very worried. I hope it's
Kanpur.
not how good.
He wanted you to
Can't.
relate some stuff from Kanpur.
Okay, well, this is the story because
Adit
this is
Bhai,
the
I
real one.
remember your question. Don't worry, I'll come to it.
Okay. No, so this was the Wills Open, and this is a par five fourth hole, and there is a bank that runs along the fourth fairway, and it's still there. So you play this first hole, it's next to right along the Gomti, you come down, and then you play a par three, and you get on this hole. So my wife's walking with Prem Singh Yadav, who was at that stage the club professional, now his son is, and whatever it was, it's the only albatross I ever made in my life. I had a 3-wood in my hand, I hit this shot, pitched about 50 yards short of that brown, oh well, green actually, roll, 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 it went in the hole. My wife wasn't excited. Nandita asked Prem, is he allowed to do this? So, so she's asking me after a ball is gone into the hole from 240 yards out, that is he allowed to make an albatross? So when we were there a few weeks ago, when we went to Kanpur on our way to Lucknow, the story was still being told. So I know what he meant when he said about my question. So that was the only albatross I had. But it was during a tournament, and my wife was sweet enough to ask the player that, are you sure he's allowed to do that? He's not breaking any rules. I wish I could keep holding more 240-yard shots. So that was the memory, Romit. So that was
Super,
the
sir,
story.
super. Super. So they remember you fondly. That's what Atit said. Everybody from Kanpur remembers you fondly.
I'll tell you a worse one. Players used to get backed, and if you were in, like, say, Jaipur, they wanted Vishal Singh to win.
Right.
If you went down to Calcutta, they wanted one of the Ali brothers to win. And I remember the Wills Masters when they were doing black magic over my golf ball and all. And, luckily I did win a few times. But anyway, this is not the story. So I'm in Jaipur, 2 holes to go. I'm 1 ahead, okay? But I am beating Rohtas, who's got all the money on him, and they're not expecting me to win. So I have this Wilson Ultra number 6 golf ball, fluorescent in those days. This is 1986 or whatever it was. I hit this terrific drive on 17, which should be on or around the brown, and the ball disappears. There's no ball
Wow.
found. And everybody says, nahi dekha, whatever, whatever. So I got to go back and I play, and, I lose the tournament by whatever it was, a shot. 28 years later, the ball is returned to me on one of my trips to Jaipur. And the guy comes to say sorry. So please ask. There's very, very good friends of mine, starting with, there was there's so many sweet guys, but Siddharth is there. I don't know whether you know Siddharth Sharma, but Siddharth and all these guys, his father was like the captain, and he got me that golf ball back 28 years later. So when you think about it, and you think Delhi Golf Club caddies used to gamble when Omi Malhotra was playing with, Mr. Kapil Bhatia and stuff, this is used to happen in pro events. Ye jeetega, ye hoga, low round iska hoga. So it's all been happening, my friend. So anyway, fun days, my friend. Fun days.
Another question from Faisal. Brandon, what's your take on junior golf?
Very clearly, FQ, it needs to get some kind of sorting out done, because there are just far too many people trying to do junior golf, and it's getting very confusing for the parent who's having to pay, because every time there's an event, it's a couple of thousand as an entry fee, plus cost of travel and stay. I think there should be events. I think they can be zone-wise, but there needs to be a logic to it and a methodology where it's better and more streamlined. That's all I'm going to say. Because it's not that, only the US kids should prosper or your IMGT should prosper. They should all prosper, but I'm just saying, done a little cleverly and intelligently. And I think the problem has happened is the IGU fell off in terms of this last few years, and they need to come back into the fold to decide it. But I'm saying you've got, let's say, 30 weeks with the kids knowing they have to do well in their exams and whatever, the pressures of school. So maybe you can have 20 events or 25 events or 30 events. let there be at least 12, 15 events in each zone and only 6 events or 8 events at the national level. But streamline it and make it clear so that parents can follow through. The parents need to be also, how much can a parent keep giving up is what I worry, because that can also be negative for the game. So
Right.
I'm just saying that there's a bit of a link like that. And I think he's just asked me about one of my favorites when I was growing up, Uncle Bendy, Surendra Lal, his father-in-law. But he and Bilu Sethi used to live, we were in Maharani Bagh at one stage in our lives, and they were great friends of my dad. And
Can we restart the session and then you can answer this, because we're going to get cut off in 2 minutes?
Sure, whatever works, as long as people are too sick of me.
They want you.
Okay.
So I'm going to just end the session, and guys, we restart this, okay? All right.
No worries.